We'll see how well practiced Max is at the intro here, Brian.
I know. Well, I'm not going to do what Jasmine does. I'm going to put my sunglasses on, though. That's for sure.
There you are.
All right, everyone. Not a lot of people have joined yet, but we'll get started right here. I want to welcome Alexa, who is our guest today. And you are on the Finding Your Venture podcast. And we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship and business through the minds of great entrepreneurs and successful businessmen. All right. I think we don't need anything else. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and we will be sure to answer all of them. Mike, do you want to take over and start this thing off?
Yeah. My tech's a little glitchy yet. For whatever reason, I got one bar today. So if I come in and out, let me know. But hi, Alexa.
Hi.
Hey, Alexa.
This is cool. So I heard that you worked at Bigby for a moment.
I did. So it's kind of like a weird story. I feel like in Lansing, especially, Bigby just gets intertwined into everything. So I worked there when I was in high school, and then everyone who like knew everybody at the store got married. My cousin married someone there. It's just how it goes.
It is how it goes, right? No doubt about it. Well, I spent some time on your website here. I really enjoy your story, and I want to hear more about it. So, can you just start us off with you know the reason you did it, why you're doing it, why you're passionate about it, the origin story, as they say.
Yeah, definitely. So this wasn't something that I really was like knowledgeable about or cared about until I was a bit older. So I had been planning to go to school for medical school. I was in college, and my dad ended up getting sick. He had pancreatic cancer. So I quit school and I started helping him out. I was taking care of him, taking him to his appointments. And during that time, he kind of started focusing on what he wanted his legacy to be. As I think when we're faced with a life or death situation, so many of us do. So he was thinking, okay, I want to look out for the invisible people in my life. And for him, the invisible people were the people who brought him his meals in the hospital, the people who cleaned the rooms, toll workers, people on the corners, the people who you see and interact with every day, but they just don't get the recognition that they deserve or the acknowledgement. So I started thinking, okay, who are my invisible people? Because we all have them. And what I kind of settled on for my invisible people were the people who make my clothes, the people who produce my food, and then the next generation. So they're not here yet. They're invisible to us, but we're borrowing the planet from them. And I really started thinking, okay, what I want my impact to be is taking care of what I'm given so that I can give it back in a good or better condition than what I've received it in. So just being a good steward of the planet. Um, and my dad ended up passing away after an 11-month battle with cancer. And I was kind of left jobless, for lack of a better word, because I had been taking care of him. So I'm like, okay, I need to start thinking about what I want to do. And I spent some time kind of moving further into that lower impact lifestyle, purchasing foods without packaging when I could, purchasing clothing ethically or secondhand. And I really found myself struggling with purchasing home and personal care items. So things that we use every day, like shampoo, conditioner, laundry detergent, dish soap. That all comes in new packaging every single time. And so many of the times, those are toxic ingredients. So things that might have led to my dad's sickness. He was a firefighter. So when you think about those things burning in a home, that's not what's supposed to happen. So I was like, okay, this is all kind of coming together in a way where I'm seeing that I want to live with a lower impact and cleaner ingredients, but I'm having a hard time doing that. I'm not able to find these products close by. And there were refilleries in places like New York and Denver. But there was nothing really in Michigan around here. Like you could go to Horrocks Farm Market and get your food in bulk, but you couldn't get soap, you couldn't get shampoo and conditioner. So I had started researching companies that were lower impact and lower tox, for lack of a better word, and trying their products. And people started asking me, they're like, oh, hey, I know that you use natural deodorant. Who do you recommend? And it kind of turned into this thing where I was like, I'm seeing a gap in my community where people want this. And I have the knowledge and the energy to do it. So why not? So when the pandemic hit, I was able to kind of delve into that a little further because I was working for a real estate team. And for the first 4 months of the pandemic, the housing market was dead. Like nothing was happening. So I was still in work. I still had a job, but I wasn't able to fill my time the same way. I had fewer hours that I was working for them. So I started compiling a list of these vendors and reaching out to some of them, because for some of them it was the first time that they would be doing anything like this. So they haven't sold in bulk before, they haven't had to skip the whole packaging portion of their business. So I reached out to some companies. Some people said yes, some said no. There were some companies who were already doing it. So I was kind of able to use that time early in the pandemic to start that. And then in October of 2020, I launched my website, and we were doing local delivery only. So we didn't have a storefront or anything like that. And it really didn't make sense to have a storefront at that point because so many people were staying home and getting things delivered anyways. So we were able to start by delivering our products in the greater Lansing area. And then I had a customer who reached out to me and she said, hey, this spot next to me is opening and I think you do really well here, a storefront. And she didn't know that a couple weeks earlier I had walked by with my sister and said, if this spot ever opened, I really want to be here. So it ended up kind of all falling together and working out really well. And I think that it was probably for the best that we started online. It wasn't what I wanted, but it worked out the best way because I was able to create a smaller following and community who was excited about it. And then it was kind of like the lead up and hype into actually launching a storefront for it. So that's kind of how it started and how we kind of got to where we are now. We've been in that storefront for a little over a year now. So we just had our 1-year anniversary back in April.
So how's it going?
It's going well. There are definitely challenges that have come with starting a business in the middle of a pandemic, and kind of working through mindset changes with people, as well as like just selling a product. So it's not a product that everybody understands or believes in. So kind of working through that has been interesting, but I can see that like that's the way that the market is going. When you go to places like Target, they're bringing in companies like Grove Collaborative who are selling their products in aluminum containers or selling refills, or you see companies like Procter & Gamble coming out with concentrates to refill their products. So I'm like, okay, this is the way that things need to be going. And the bigger companies are also seeing this, that there's a desire for it. So it's encouraging to me. We're definitely like, I feel good about where we are in the first year because there are so many companies that struggle, but I think starting small and within our means has been really, really helpful.
If you could paint a picture for us in terms of where this thing is in 20 years for yourself, what does that look like?
If I'm being completely honest, this is a business that in 20 years, I can see the big box stores putting me out of business. And I'm kind of okay with it. I know that sounds really crazy, and that's not what a lot of people who are entrepreneurs would say, but this store for me is really more about making an impact than becoming an empire or building business. I think it'd be so cool if we could continue to work with these local vendors and build them up so that other stores pick them up as well. But what I would love to see is places like Target having refilleries in them. And the reason I say put me out of business is not because I don't think it could be successful. But right now, one of the biggest barriers for my customers is the price. It's not accessible to everyone. And that's what we need. We need more accessibility. So the cost between buying, like, let's say, a bottle of Dawn dish soap and a pound of the dish soap that I carry, there is a price difference. And it's really significant to some people, but a lot of the people who I have coming into my shop are here to vote with their dollar. And that's really what it's about to me. It's not so much about making money and being in business for 20 years, but like getting that start, getting that push, showing the larger companies like there are people who want this, there is a market for it, and really like hopefully seeing that become accessible to everyone. So in stores that are all over the country, grocery stores like Walmart, Target, Meijer, they have these sections there.
I suspected that was what you'd say from your website.
Yeah.
Your goal really is to have the capability for people to refill their products at the big box stores.
Right? Yeah, that's what I would love. And I would love for this to be a successful business and continue to be a successful business, but I'm hoping that it can just grow into something more than that.
Alexa, hey, this is Brian. I just want to say, what a great story. I love everything about your business and how you came to it. I also believe that the world is changing in these ways, and I think that you're onto something for sure. So I'm really excited to learn about your business, and I am excited to learn about refilleries more generally. And I'm interested to explore the ones you talked about in New York and Denver. When I was learning about your business, I was thinking about, I kept thinking about Uber and Airbnb and these businesses that leverage existing resources in new ways. And, your ability to make it cool and good to use somebody's like jar is really cool. It's like judo, it's business judo. It's like making it better to do something that's lower cost and maybe like less professional, which I think is like really exciting, and there's potential leverage there. But not if the costs are like way higher to start, like you're saying. I'm interested to learn about, I would assume that, but I could be wrong, that there could be a way that it would cost less to do it your way. I understand like a Dawn dish soap, there's like just scale and efficiencies and like shortcuts or whatever on like ingredients. So I'm not saying you have to be the cheapest, but do you think that there's a chance to dive into the next level of sourcing and find a way to be selling these bulk products with zero packaging that you have to pay for in a way that's cost like could be a lot less expensive than the way you're doing it today?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that that's definitely a possibility. And I think that would have to come with definitely some collaboration from people who know better than I do too, working with other people who are further into those industries, because right now I have no background in business. This is my first storefront. This is my first retail shop. And I'm really like wanting to work with other people who know more than me, because I see that there is a possibility, and that's just me making the big jump from like me to Dawn dish soap. So there are ways to like go into that middle ground. So maybe not working with a super small maker, but working with somebody who's kind of in the middle, who's more established. Yeah. And another roadblock that I've seen with this too is it's essentially nothing to make a plastic container, and that's why we do it so much. Like that's why there are so many plastic containers, and there really aren't like deposits on them, because it's a resource. It's not a renewable resource, but it's something that it's a petroleum byproduct, and it's really cheap to make it, so we just keep doing it. So I feel like there definitely are ways to find that middle ground, but it would come with a greater cost initially. I think if I were able to purchase product in larger quantities and had like the space to store it as well, that could be better. But right now we're in a 400 square foot retail space. So itty bitty, no back room for storing much of anything. As much as we can, we do. But that's something that I've thought a lot about, is like if I could buy more product at once or buy like it from a different companies, would it be more cost effective?
Yeah. I would love to spend time, whether it's a day or a week or something like that, and just kind of explore all the brainstorm ideas for getting those costs way down. Because if you can
Yeah.
start to create, because when I saw your business, I was like, oh, well, the one thing it has going for it is that it's probably got great margin potential. Because it's like you're getting this stuff in that's probably not super expensive to make, and you can sell it at a retail price. So if you're finding a way to, like, you know, creative solutions for buying at low cost, whether it's like closeout product or like odd batches or like whatever, you know what I mean? Like getting scrappy in that way.
Right.
I think buying at a really low price. I mean, it reminds me of like the Dollar Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club started because they got just basically like a warehouse full of blades for free, and then they came up with a creative way to sell it. Anyway, I'd love to explore that sometime.
Yeah, I would love that. I think that that's like how we can make it happen and last long term.
Is there an opportunity to join or start an association of refilleries?
So
and yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, because I was thinking like if you could get 100 refilleries joined to an association, then there could be the possibility to put your buying power together. And
Right.
now you're 100 refilleries buying. You're not competing with each other because you're in different markets or whatever. And that could be a way to drive down the price. So if there is an association, you can get active in that. If there isn't one, you could start one.
Right now there is a group. It's on Facebook, and it's of refilleries in Canada and the United States. So I want to say that it's a group of less than 100 right now because it's still a fairly new concept. But it's been a really great resource. We're able to like bounce ideas off of each other. We're able to say what's working for you, what's not working for you, and there isn't that competition because we are in different markets. So that's a really great idea, because there have been products that I've tried that I've reached out to companies and I've said, hey, like, I'd love to carry your product. And they're like, okay, well, this is the minimum we can do. And the minimum is obscene.
Right. But if you got, let's say you were able to get 60 or 70 of the other refillers, you have distribution issues you have to figure out on that, right? In terms of how you get it. But if you approach the manufacturer with an order for 50 or 60x what you're going to them for, and you're going to have to pay for the shipping, the individual shipping, which I guess is a lot, but that could be a way to, or at least maybe start that conversation within the association of buying together as a group.
Right. Or even like regionally, I could see that working really well too, because another thing that we kind of run into with refilleries is there is an impact from shipping as well. So that's why so many of us try to keep our vendors close to home. So I would say probably 45% of the brands in my store are from Michigan, and all but one of them is from the United States. So that's something that I know in the mind of other refillery owners is present, is keeping those shipping, not even the shipping costs, but just like the impact of shipping lower. So that's why so many of us reach out to local vendors. But I could see that working really, really well for like certain products that, like in an area, say like let's find the middle spot between the refilleries that are here in Michigan are like Kalamazoo, Traverse City, Ann Arbor, Midland, and me. And then there's one up in the UP.
Well, the manufacturer, if they're producing in Omaha, Nebraska or Dallas, Texas, they're getting the pallets of that product to Michigan somehow, right? And so if you were to approach the manufacturer and try to get them on board with helping you, I mean, this is a cause-based business, right? So if you can get them involved in helping you, and so a high-level connection at one of the manufacturers would be great. right? Somebody that's in the C-suite or the president or CEO of one of these companies, and then pitch them on the fact that, you know, we want to buy your product and we'll buy a boatload of it, but you got to help us figure out how to get it to the Midwest, the Southeast, the, you know, Northwest, and around the country, and they've got all of that figured out already. Right? They're already doing it. They're shipping pallets of containers, and you're just asking them to ship a pallet of raw product.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I love that idea, and it's definitely worth like talking to other refillery owners. Seeing there might even be some of them who are already doing that too.
Could be. Yeah. Yeah, I know the co-ops have refilling stations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I know the East Lansing Co-op and the co-op here in Ann Arbor, they've got bulk dish soap, bulk, you know, all the home goods stuff too. So I think they do. So they're doing it as well.
Yeah. So I don't know that the East Lansing Co-op is in business anymore. That one, I think it's been out for a couple of years, but they're working on bringing it back, which is really exciting. But yeah, they did have like refill stations like for Dr. Bronner's soap. And that's something that we also have brought on board. It's really cool to have a company like Dr. Bronner's. I think that they have an amazing model, and kind of they're another cause-based business where it's like they put a lot of care into what they're creating, and it's exciting to work with companies like that.
I'm interested to learn how you merchandise the product. I was just listening to a podcast with Nature's Path. It's a manufacturer of like breakfast cereals, and they're saying they made a hard decision to shrink their package for environmental reasons, but they give up a lot of like billboard space, for lack of a better term. It's like where you tell your story as a product. How within the store or even outside the store, how do you merchandise in that, you know, without that packaging?
Right. So everything has to come to us in some sort of a container, like because it's liquid product. So we decant into a lot of containers. So glass containers like old growlers, and we'll put a pump on that. The shampoo and conditioner that we buy, the first time that I purchased those products, they came in, I want to say it's a gallon jug with a pump on it. And then every time I buy it now, I buy refills of it. So it's kind of like boxed wine. So you get like a bag in a box with the product inside of that, and I pour into those original containers. So a lot of the liquid products I keep in their original containers. Something that's really nice is I work with a local company in Hazlitt, so like 20 minutes away from me, and they make my laundry detergent, my dish soap, my cleaning products. And the way that we work with that is I have glass containers at the shop that you can either reach into or pour out of, that I put most of their products into, except for the laundry detergent, because we keep those in really big containers. And then when those containers are empty, I'll place a new order with them. They'll come with the full one, take the old one, and refill that for me. So that's like our most circular economy there, is we're using the same containers every single time. And I'm just decanting into other ones and storing the empty containers or the partially empty containers in the back or under a counter or something like that until it's time for a new one. So it's kind of a mix matched, all different type of style, but we do get questions from customers who come in. They're like, this is in plastic. This is what you're against. Why is this in plastic? And I can explain to them then, like, oh, we're just refilling it from a different container.
Do any of the companies that you sell their products have any sort of brand recognition with the consumer? Like, is there any type of a poll that comes and when they're looking to find where they can buy this product, they find that, oh, I can just go buy it at the refillery? Or is or are they coming in and you're the brand recognition, and then you're educating them about all these other companies?
For the most part, our shop is the brand recognition. So people know, okay, Clean Refillery, I can go there and I can see what they have. There have been times where people have come in and they've been really excited because they're like, oh, this is a product that I love and I use at home, and now I can refill it. That happens probably the most frequently with the Dr. Bronner soap. And then it'll happen with Fresh Coast Clean, which is that local cleaning company who makes our cleaning supplies. And then I had another customer come in. She's like, oh, I've been looking for this body lotion everywhere. I'm so excited that you have it. So there are some brands that we bring in that are a little bit larger and people recognize them. But most of the time I have people coming in and saying, okay, I feel like I could switch out my laundry detergent. I'm not married to my dish soap. What do you have, and does it work? And it's been really important to me to test every product that comes through our door and make sure that I can stand behind it and vouch for it. Otherwise, it's a waste.
Do you have, I want to get into how you acquire customers. So what have you found is your best way to acquire a new customer?
So our social media has really been a strong point for us. I think it's because so many of the people who are kind of changing this mindset are of that era, like people who are really involved with social media or spend time on it. So people like high school to mid 30s, I would say, is like the group that really
Yeah.
comes in with that.
By the way, what's beautiful about that is when I got into my business, the coffee consumer was about that age group, right? The specialty coffee consumer was about that age group. And we've been riding that wave for 25 years, right? Because they stayed customers, and then we backfilled with continuous stream of young people, right? So like you're gonna, as you stay in the business, that pool is gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger. Do you do? This is something that I pitch to my brother all the time. He owns a really progressive summer camp for kids, and I'm always asking him to engage in becoming a what's the word? Like an expert opinion. What's that called?
A consultant?
Thought leader.
No, thought leader. Thanks, Brian. Thought leader. So, are you doing a regular, consistent blog post that people can attach to and read and learn about your industry and the impact of your industry, and just start to build a following around these ideas you have, right? That the rest of us should know. I mean, I should be buying from you. I know that, right? And that frankly, the reason why we don't, if I'm just being frank, is that it's a convenience issue for us, right?
Absolutely.
So, like Instacart, boom, 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 and we've got dish soap, 90 minutes later on our doorstep. And so it takes time to shop this way, right? It takes additional time, which most people don't have. And so I see that as a bit of a barrier. It's just a convenience issue. But I want to stay on this thought leader concept, because what thought leader will do is it'll build you and your brand. And then as you move forward, big box stores might bring in bulk dish soap, but you'll move into something else, right? Because you're a thought leader in the space. And so I just pose that as a question in terms of how much energy or effort you've put into becoming a thought leader in the refillery space.
I love that idea. I was literally sitting here last night thinking, okay, how can I get, just even as a marketing strategy, like how can I bump up our SEO? How can I do better with that? And it's really through blog posts. Those are so helpful for SEO. So I was thinking about that. I was like, maybe I need to start putting blog posts out there. And it's something that I would like to do. And a personal fear of mine that comes with that, being a thought leader, is having to be an expert on all of the science behind climate change, which I'm not. I'm just somebody who can stand here and look at it and say, oh, this is a problem, recognize a problem, and try to create solutions. But I think that that's just a personal fear that I have to get over, because I do see solutions to it. I don't need to argue for it, because this isn't for the people who don't believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and also you've got a major research institution right there in your town.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I got to believe there's scientists at the university that would be really, so when we started moving into Farm Direct, purchasing our coffee beans directly from the farmer, all of a sudden there was a ton of resources from the university of people working on this kind of thing. That they brought us all kinds of research. They brought us resources. So, there's I'm sure there's people at the university that have all that stuff for you, and you could just partner with them,
Mhm.
You know, would a professor at the university be interested in partnering on a podcast with you, or writing blog posts with you? I'm sure they would, and they probably already have all the content written, right?
Right.
That you could just repurpose for yourself. So I would recommend try to touch base with the university and see what's, you know, they're working on this stuff.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
I mean, and so, but the thought leader thing to me is something that and then the other question I have is, are you tracking your consumer? So are you getting their data? Are you getting their phone number, their email, their address, and so on?
So we are getting that information from a lot of the customers who come into the store. Our website will give us that information for people who like place orders, but I haven't gotten deep enough into it with our website to say like having widgets or anything like that for tracking for advertising on Google or Facebook or anything like that. I do know a little bit about it, but I'm by no means an expert in it. And I think I need to reach out to somebody who is an expert because that could be really helpful.
Well, I tend to, and Max will attest to this. I tend to approach that sort of from the old fashioned perspective, which is, you know, have forms people can fill out in your store, right? And on the back of our frequency cards at Big B, people used to write their information on the back to become part of the database, and then we would discount them for doing that. We would send them a free drink on their birthday. It's all we would do, right? So we're giving them one drink a year, and so, but like beginning to capture that data will allow you to communicate with the consumer, you know, more effectively. And so I would really, it's probably one of the top 5 things we did in our business. You know, we started it, and I remember when the list had 600 names on it, you know, and now it's got over 1 million
Wow.
names on it, right? So, but we just started slow, and it was hand-to-hand combat, and like you'd sit in the back of your store every night, and you get the frequency cards out that were turned in. You would type the address in and the phone number into the database, and it was really old school. I'm sure the search engines have all kinds of ways you can do it differently and better and so on. But building that intimate connection with the consumer, having, you know, you connecting with them I think is gold. I think it's
Yeah.
gold.
Yeah, we have an email list, and early on that was something that I was like, I really want to have an email list because as the apps change, like Facebook and Instagram, where so many of us reach out to our customers, we don't get to keep them. They're not like, we don't have that intimate connection with them. But when they're signing up for your email and they open their inbox and you're there, those are the people who are really like loyal customers who want to know what's happening. And it's really important to continue to foster that.
And I've worked hard in my world for 5 years, and I keep getting beat down. No one's buying into it. I still think Big B, we should send out physical, like, birthday cards that show up in people's mailboxes, right? Like I think that but again, I'm getting beat up from my marketing team because it's too much work, you know, to address however many per month or whatever. But that intimate connection, connecting to you as a person, to me is really an important part of this brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. And something that I try to stay really engaged on our social media with our customers too. And part of that is something that I'm not comfortable with, which is just showing my face on our social media. So as I'm sure you guys know, Reels are blowing up right now, TikTok and Instagram Reels. And that's something that I've really kind of like challenged myself to do, even if it's like I've made a video and it seems stupid, but it has like some little snippet of information. Like today I made a dumb one about like how we deliver because we're not getting as many online orders. And I think people are forgetting like that's something we do. We still deliver. And that kind of takes away, as you were saying, the inconvenience factor, I guess. It makes it more convenient for people to know, like, okay, Monday afternoon, I'm going to open my front door and my laundry detergent's going to be sitting there.
Alexa, talk about the delivery business. Why did you feel that you needed a storefront? Why not just build a delivery only business?
The connection was really such a huge part of it. And I think that part of it was I was having a hard time fully articulating what this is into the void that felt like social media. So shouting like, we're going to refill this, but people not entirely understanding how that works. So part of it was like being able to educate my customers. So when I drop off a bottle of laundry detergent at somebody's front door, they're like, oh, okay, my laundry detergent's here. It's in a growler and I'm going to put it in my machine and we're just going to keep doing this. But when they came into the shop, they could ask me about it. They can say, what are the ingredients? Where's this from? Not that they can't ask that through email or anything like that, but there was just so much more engagement. They see me pour the laundry detergent into their container. If they want 3 pounds of it, they can get 3 pounds. If they want 10 pounds, they can get 10 pounds. There was so much more variety to it. And I could explain to them, I can say, you need to put 1 ounce per load in here. This is why this brand is good, because they are in Hazlitt and we're going to trade this container in a couple weeks. And it's a circular process. So it really kind of just like drove it home. I think almost it was kind of in a way where it's like, you can't get that connection online. Like you can make great connections online, but it's so important to be able to like speak to a person and show them. And another thing that was really important to me and is important to me is remembering who this is all for. And it's for people who are little kids right now, people who aren't here yet. So when a little 5-year-old can come into the shop and fill up her mom's dish soap, they love that. Like they love that connection, and that's going to leave a mark in their mind saying, this is possible. I don't have to go to the store and buy it like this. And they'll understand like there are options beyond what we've been trained to expect in the ways that we've been trained to purchase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, I have some thoughts about, like, I know that you don't have a business background, and I have a lot of friends who start businesses and don't have that sort of business background, and maybe even feel like bad about making money sometimes, if there's like an impact thing. And here's my message about that. Target is never going to adopt this unless it makes more money for them. And I think you are onto something. I think you've got it. You're in this right place, but you have to be ruthless about making money on it. Otherwise, nobody else is ever going to do it, and you're never going to be able to continue doing it. And yeah, there's like lots of little tweaks and experimentations. You know, buying better, selling better, all these things, and I think you can do it. I really do. But I think, being ruthless about making money, because if you don't make money, then no one's ever going to try to copy you. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that we always did was our product was always considered to be very expensive, and still is today. Right. So, you can go to Speedway and get a cup of coffee, right? Or you can go to McDonald's and get a cup of coffee. Just, and it's going to be a third the price, not half, not 10% less, but like a third the price. But what we always did is we discounted our loyal consumers as a thank you for the business. So building a discount program into the people that are coming in once a month or buying from you in some frequency is a way to communicate with them and keep them involved. And people love a discount. Right, like they do, and so that's always been one of our primary marketing strategies is to discount the expensive product, right? So your product might be a little bit more expensive right now. Okay, I mean I agree with Brian 100% about trying to figure out how to drive that down, but in the interim, can you send out a 15% discount coupon, right? And it's more than just the 15%. It's a way to engage your consumer. So the discount coupon shows up and they get to look at it and they read it. You can put a message on it, right? Or you can advertise some event that you're going to be at or whatever it might be. And so, I would consider utilizing discounting as a way to, one, thank your loyal customers, right, for their patronage. But then secondly, it's just a way to be in front of them, right? It's a way to be engaged with them. And even if we always take the discounting percentage into account when we're putting our pricing together. So we know we're going to discount it 14%, right? So we have to price it non-discounted at some rate, at a higher rate, in order to take into account the 14% discount.
Yeah, I've never really thought about that part of it, where it's like pricing it so that you can give that discount and give that incentive.
Yeah, you're probably not dealing with a price-sensitive consumer, is my guess.
When it comes to these products, it's morals based or values based. Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, that's a beautiful place to be, by the way, because the larger you can build your customer base up, they're not price sensitive, right? So they're buying from you because they want to buy from you, and they can buy from you, and so that they're going to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can play with that, and you're just gonna have to experiment with it. Like, what works best? What's the right discount method? There's 20 different ways to discount, but you're gonna have to play with the right way to do that.
Right. And then I think about, like, you know how there were bulk sections at the grocery store, or there still are, but just not as much. And if you wanted to buy peanuts, it was cheaper to buy it at the bulk section there than to buy the can of the peanuts.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, got to figure out how to make that happen, because it's possible. We've seen it happen in with different kinds of products, but finding out how to shift it over to that.
Go ahead, Brian.
Can I throw something out there related to this?
Yeah.
I'm going to take this in possibly a different direction. I'm curious about if there's some kind of product or tech that you're going to find that almost will make refillery as a service, or you'll unlock refillery. I don't know what it's going to be, a supply chain innovation, a packaging innovation, a merchandising innovation, something you can find that'll unlock the refillery model for everyone. I feel like in 3 years, I'd love for that to be your story. And you found it because you had this retail, operation that you were running, and you were like, geez, if all these manufacturers would just do this, or if all these retailers would just do this, and then refillery would be the thing everywhere.
Well, what I love, what I absolutely love, is the little meter on the drinking fountains when you use your water bottle, as opposed to, like you just saved, you see it, you look at this meter, it's like 111,000 plastic bottles have been saved by this one drinking fountain. Like, that to me, that is like that. So setting up some kind of a metric where people can track online or whatever how many bottles they're not using by using the refillery, and then have like a contest, right? People love contests, right? So have a contest and have your top 5 customers listed, right? This person has, saved 212 bottles in the last year, or whatever it might be. That kind of thing. The other thing that I wonder about is whether people would be willing to join a subscription model on this.
Yeah, so that's something that I've been wanting to delve into further, and I've done some pitches for local businesses too, because that's another place where I feel like that could work really easily, especially with delivery, is working with maybe like a salon or just other small businesses like offices, and do a subscription based thing for that, where they receive a discount for subscribing, but they're buying like a certain amount at a time. It shows up at their door and they want it. So I'm trying to pitch to businesses about something like that. But I think in order to have a successful individual consumer subscription model, we need to be more consistent with our stock, which is one of our big pain points. Is, since we're working with these smaller companies in the middle of a pandemic when there are supply chain issues, I can't have somebody subscribing for a product and be like, oops, sorry, it's not here.
So what about this? What if you approached me and said, Mike, listen, for $500 a month, your employees can order weekly, right? And I will deliver it to your office space, and they show up, and they can pick it up whenever, right? They can pick it up a day later or 2 days later because we would just put it in some certain place in our office, right? So now as a company, I would love to make that available. Like, I mean, everyone that manages a business like mine is trying to figure out ways to have less impact on the environment. We all are. Everyone is. So if I could go to my people and say, hey, listen, we've formed this partnership with the refillery, right? And here's the order sheet. You place your order on Monday, they'll deliver it Thursday. And then, you're getting out of the sort of like having to deliver to a specific person at a specific address. Hopefully you could be bringing they would pay for it, right? Like they would buy it, but we're just making that service available to them. And then all of a sudden you're bringing, an $800 order to the Baby Home office every week, as opposed to individual orders all over the place. And so if you were to go pitch managers of businesses like mine on that idea, I think there could be the opportunity, because I think every manager like me would love to be able to raise their hand and say, this is something we're offering our people, right? That we've developed this partnership. And it's just a way for you to market. Now you're marketing to my employees, right? You're automatically marketing for the employees. And you could go in our newsletter, and you could come to one of our staff meetings and present what you do. And, like that could be a nice way to build a customer base pretty quickly. And there's a lot bigger employers than me, right? So you go to some company that's got 1,000 employees, right? Like all of a sudden they're placing an order once a week. That could be a massive order. Now you got to figure out how to fill it, which is, what you say you're struggling with, but.
Well, I'm curious. We got a lot of ideas for stuff you should do. How much bandwidth you got, and like, what's the team look like?
So, I mean, this is, for me right now, this is one of my part-time jobs. I do this and I work as a wedding photographer. So it kind of like switches back and forth as I need to in each department there. But these are the kinds of things where it's like, when I can have these conversations, it's so beneficial, because my mind is where it can be, being a photographer, business owner, manager, payroll, all of that stuff, because I feel like I really do a lot of that. And having these conversations and introducing these ideas are things that like I just wouldn't have been able to think of. So we have 2 employees who work in the shop with me, and they kind of cover the times that I'm not there. When I'm there, I'm working with customers, doing all the other business that we can do. My hope is to eventually be able to change that into something where I don't have to necessarily be there every single day to make things happen. I can focus more on bigger picture things, like these kinds of conversations, growth within the business, instead of dealing with refilling the containers.
Well, I mean, I love this business. I also think there's an opportunity here to build a model that the Krogers, the Targets, the Walmarts of the world could just lock into. Like if you were to build out a model for them and approach a retailer and say, hey, this program right here is a refillery for your grocery store, then they don't have to create it, and that they're really hard to work with. But in the end, the other thing to do too would be to approach a business like mine and say, hey, what do you guys think about doing this product? I mean, Big B, right? You know the products, you know everything that we do. Is there something in our business? Could you do our sanitizer or our whatever, and figure out how to do that at scale for our stores? Because again, we're lacking the ingenuity to figure that stuff out. And so if you approached us with an idea and said, hey, I'd like to do your sanitizer in a bulk capacity, refilling it at the store level, all of a sudden that's a different business model for you.
Right.
And then, we're buying a boatload of sanitizer every month, right? And so
Refillery as a service.
There we go.
I want a refillery as a service.
I love that idea. It has the opportunity for even greater impact that way. Yeah.
You'd have to figure out, like, just do one thing. right? Like if you were to enter the restaurant space, do one thing for the restaurant space and figure that one thing out, and then do that well. And then once you get that working, it's much easier to branch out as an existing vendor within a company. So if you're an existing vendor of ours and you're doing sanitizer, well, then could you do, the soap in the mop bucket, the little, so, it's like, it's all of a sudden now you're doing that. And then so
salons. I mean, she said it.
Gosh,
God,
crazy.
don't you
right?
think? They all hate slinging those products.
Yeah. And to go to some progressive salon and do a refillery at the salon that's branded your brand. And what they get is they would get a cut of your revenue or something, and then now you're managing something, and Brian, as you mentioned, you're managing something that they don't want to do, right? They don't want to sell that product. They have to, they're told they have to, but like if you could bring them a solution, that could be great.
I just want to add something quick here. So I looked up a company that has the statistics of how many containers they saved in the year of 2021. That does the refillery, and it was 10,427. And they are not small containers. That is a lot of containers. I mean, 32 ounces or 64 ounces is a
What kind of product was it?
There was a ton of products. There was coffee, dishwasher detergent, dish soap, shampoo, floss, potatoes. I mean, they have more, but oils, stuff like that. I mean, those are huge numbers. And like what Mike said, I would love to see the impact that I have, my personal impact. So where that's maybe subscription idea or just belonging to it and seeing, oh, look, this year I have saved, 14 dishwasher containers. I mean, I think that's a fantastic idea.
We were able to do something like that for our anniversary, to celebrate our anniversary in Earth Month. I was able to come up with the numbers of what the store and all of our customers combined, like how many shampoo bottles we had saved, and put that out there. And I mean, it's just like, it's exciting to know that like it is an actual difference. Like that's literally hundreds of shampoo bottles or whatever that's not in the landfill or getting sent out of the recycling stream.
Well, do the McDonald's thing, right? So how they always used on their signs, they used to have how many hamburgers they'd sold. Mm-hmm. You could do something with how many plastic containers you've saved. And
I like that.
Have a running tally on your website, right? And you have to update it monthly and or weekly or whatever you want to do. And then like I would go to your site and I would be like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. This
company has saved 27,000 bottles of
I'm literally going to do that as soon as we hang up here.
That's awesome. I think that's cool. I think because that's the cause marketing, right? And that's your advantage. Your advantage is the cause marketing, and you gotta run with that, and make sure everybody knows why you're in the business.
Definitely.
All right. Should we wrap things up here? Or Mike, Brian, anything else?
The time already? Oh my gosh, it is. Okay. Well, I think that just to recap, I think we talked about the association thing from a buying perspective. Brian talked about really trying to focus in on how you could utilize technology or to make it about. Brian, were you thinking more of the cause marketing type thing, or what was that?
I think there's a process or something that Alexa's going to figure out that will be the model that others can emulate. And I think that looking for that early and calling attention to that as the business, as what the business is, leaning into that idea of enabling Target to do it. I think that can be related to thought leadership. It's related to all the things we talked about it, but I really think you'll be the pioneer of the refillery concept that figured out how to unlock it. Mm-hmm. And it's not unlocked yet. it's got promise, but it's not unlocked yet. And if you unlock it, you're going to have the biggest impact ever. And you could also have a really big business if you wanted it.
This conversation has changed the perspective that I went into it with. So when you said, where do you see this in 20 years? And I said, hopefully closed. It kind of changes that into how do I not need to be small anymore? And then just what you said, don't be afraid to make the money, because that's the only way that it's going to work. Those are two huge mindset shifts that have come out of it.
You can give it away if you want. But if you can't make it, then Target's not going to do it.
Right. Yeah. Those are two really, really big mindset shifts that have come out of this conversation today that I appreciate, and I think are going to make a really, really big difference in the next years.
There's that thought leadership thing to me is so important, right? Because you need to be speaking at conferences. You need to be talking to managers of businesses. You need to be in bringing them practical solutions to this issue, right? And that is how you're going to build your brand. And then once your brand is building, you'll figure out what to do with it, right? You'll move into different things or different spaces and do different, but that thought leadership thing, becoming an absolute thought leader in this category, to me is like, I want you to do it so bad, right? Like I want you to do that so bad.
You guys have created a list of action items for me today, and I appreciate it, because that's going to be up there too, putting the blog together, getting that going, working on those types of things because truly I am trying to find ways that I can expand this, because I want more people to know about it. And those are like really solid things that I can do today, tomorrow, this week to make that start happening.
Yeah, I love it. Well, you've got a cool concept here. I'm fired up. I am. I know when I talk to people and I'm like, I want to do this. That means I get excited, right? I want you to do this so bad, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Just before we end the broadcast here, Alexa, I want to roll the red carpet out for you. Tell us where they can find you, where they can get your product, social media, X, Y, and Z, you name it. It's all yours.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. So we're located at 1136 South Washington Avenue in Lansing, Michigan. So Riotown, Lansing. You can go onto our website, www.cleanrefillery.com. And then you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Clean Refillery.
Sweet. Great stuff. All right, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Alexa, it's been absolutely an honor. And I guess we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate your time.
Take care.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.